we have two very special guests from the hit television series. I first would like to introduce someone who was a star on Hawaii Five-0. He graced the cover of a Weezer album. I have to throw that one in there. And played Hugo Hurley Reyes on Lost. Please welcome Jorge Garcia.
Hi.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Our next guest played Belle on the TV show Once Upon a Time. She was in the film Remember Me and also played Claire Littleton on Lost. Please welcome Emilie de Ravin.
Hi. It's so funny popping up. Hi, Megan.
So I have to start off by asking, first of all, Lost fans have been so spoiled to see you guys in the same shows throughout the years. And so my biggest question for you is, how does it feel to, one, bring that experience back to the fans, and two, to work together again and have those reunions?
Go ahead.
No, you mean on Once Upon a Time?
No, like yeah. Exactly.
We never got to work together though.
No, we didn't.
No, but even being on the same show, was that experience
it's cool.
Knowing that he was there?
Well, there's definitely a lot of fan crossover, and also a lot of people who worked on that show that had come from Lost in other aspects of writing and stuff like that. So that was cool. It was kind of, part of an extended family in a way. Right.
And so is this the first time you guys are seeing each other in a while, or do you have reunions every once in a while?
It's been a while.
Emilie in this way. I basically have only mainly been seeing her on Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
Recently.
Well, no, you too. It's funny though. We both have this now. A new friend of mine is a really good friend of Jorge's. So I've been talking about Jorge a lot recently.
The world is small. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But no, and once it is cool. There was so many people from. I mean, not that I like Ravin. Or he was on Wonderland, but. So many people, and Bex was obviously on it for a long time, but
right.
It is fun when worlds cross over and collide. And I think Adam and Eddie are the kind of guys who right. Because
Rebecca Meaner also came and did 5-0 too.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys have some of those crossovers. Well, we already have a lot of
get to see someone that that you've worked with before or knew from the past. Same thing, Lana and we were in acting class together when we were coming up as actors. So then to get to go and do, the show she's on, and when she also came on, she had done that episode of Lost where she worked in the underwater station.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's fun when the people who you knew when you weren't working get work and you get to do the same jobs with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have
someone that you knew Lana back then too. I met Lana in the Bahamas when I was 18 or 19 on E used to do those Wild On shows, and they used to send people over, and we went to hey, do you guys want to go to the Bahamas for a week? A bunch of random people on shows then.
Wow.
And then we were on once, and we're like, hey.
Hey, you look familiar to me, right? Well, we already have a lot of questions coming in. We have one from Sci-Fi Icon, and it is, even now, years later, how has your life been impacted by being on Lost?
It's a good question.
Well, I mean, for me, Lost is really, I think, my first touch at what being a recognizable household name was. So in a sense, it's changed my life completely.
Yeah.
How about you, Emilie?
No, for me too. I'm just thinking timeline wise, I had done Roswell as a show that sort of had a big fan following before this, but nothing like Lost. But so I'd had a sort of a taste of it. I was also very, very young when I did that show. And then, this it did exactly what Jorge it said. It just changed everything. And I think the show changed so much too, along with how it all kind of ties in for me. I think it changed the way people looked at network TV and what you could do and what, I mean, they completely broke the mold of what people expected for a network. And I think that tied in with the success and all of us getting success from that. And it was all just this really, really cool moment in time. And God,
yeah, it was cool. Like when you start saying like when we were on and then you saw these new fall shows and people started doing more kind of serialized shows that I was like going, oh, it's like we definitely opened up that as a thing that networks were more willing to take a chance on because of our success. That was definitely a cool thing. And I don't know, Emilie, I don't know if you felt this, but I remember what I kind of liked was the fact that we were away in Hawaii doing it. It kind of was this thing where, in a way, I could just kind of convince myself that this was just like a little show that me and my friends do out in the forest. And
we never had a pretentious crew or situation there. It was so like just dirty and down to earth. And yeah, I mean,
kind of under the radar. Like we didn't get a lot of people, like a lot of executives didn't come visit us and stuff. So we just kind of worked on our stuff. And then you'd kind of forget that the impact that the show is having. And then suddenly there'll be some event that we all have to show up for. And then we go, oh, I guess we might be a bigger deal than we realized.
Yeah.
So in a way, you were on your own island, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it would have been a totally different experience if we shot this in Malibu or something. It would have been a whole other, yeah.
Yeah, well, like at the beginning, we were like the only people we knew in Hawaii. So we would try and hang out during like off hours as well. It was like we were literally trapped on an island with each other in real life as well in many ways.
Yeah. Well, Jamie6600 has a question, and they say, did you know anything about the show of what it was going to become when the pilot was filmed, or did you think it was going to be just basically a plane crash on a mysterious island? So at the time, did you know what it was going to become?
As to future episodes, I think he's probably alluding to. Oh, did we?
I didn't know anything. I remember, in fact, I remember when we went to at Upfronts, there was a meeting with JJ, and he was like saying, listen, they ask you if we know where it's going, tell them we know where it's going, you know what's going to happen. It was kind of this thing. And then later, it became a thing that we just embraced the fact that the actors have no idea what's happening, and we learn script to script, just like people were learning episode to episode.
Yeah. I think that did help in the end. It was frustrating at times, but then also our producers and writers or whatever were, even if they weren't there, it's easy. They were all easy to have a phone call with if you had a specific question that was really bugging you about something you felt like it would help you to know or whatnot. But yeah, I honestly don't think I even read, God, did I even read the script before I took the part?
I think I was hired before I got the
I had just audition sides, but sorry, I overlapped you.
Me too. I think it wasn't until I was already hired that they dropped off the full script, and we all got like iPods as a present.
What if it was really bad? We're like, oh.
Listen, all I knew, like when I took the job, all I knew was that it was going to be shooting in Hawaii, and it was a J.J. Abrams show, and so I figured, if anything, I'm going to turn it into a Hawaiian vacation. So I ended up like booking the hotel for like another week after that to kind of just enjoy myself, and beyond that, whatever. I got the free trip to Hawaii.
Right. So you were all about just watching the experience unfold, and it sounds like that was a great thing.
Yeah, well, you never know with a pilot anyway, really. I mean, you could have the most amazing, pilot being, I'm sure everyone knows, but for a pilot's the first episode of a show, and some shows are automatic to series, but usually the pilot is watched by all the big wigs at networks and whatnot, and they decide if it's going to be aired or not. Anyway, you never know with a network pilot unless it's pre-picked up if it's going to go anyway, I suppose. So it's less of a risk when you look at it that way, and a big testament, I suppose, to JJ, who we all obviously loved his work and now.
Yeah. Well, we have a question from NK Lost LOTR. They want to know, who is your favorite castmate to work with, and which castmates did you form the best relationships with?
People always want us to.
Jorge, of course.
No pressure.
I can say easily now, friendship-wise, it's Rebecca Mader, who I didn't really know that well when we were shooting Lost because we didn't have any scenes together. But then she got on once, and I don't know. I mean, look, my favorites were probably Terry, Jorge, Dom. To work with? I don't know. I feel like we always had the most fun. I'd always have fun with you. I'd always have fun with Terry. Terry would always make me laugh or make fun of me. I always remember him saying, like, he gets throwing a pear core, and he's like, "Did you just say the boars eat pear cores?"
Oh, right. I remember.
Do you remember that? I don't know why that stuck in my head.
The boars eat pear cores.
And then that lasted for like a season, and he'd just come up to me and be like, "Emilie,
pear cores." Yeah, I remember that.
It was such a family feeling.
That was great because, like, where we shot out in basically pretty remote area of Oahu, especially at the beginning, and every set's got this cart of snacks and food.
Our rations.
And the wild boars of the jungle just kind of get used to us being around and dropping food and stuff at different times. In fact, at one point, I threw a boar the rest of my sandwich because I immediately was wrapped and it was like a meal, and then I was like, "Oh, I think there was ham in that sandwich."
You created the new cannibal boar that now lives on.
Yeah, because one of them had like a problematic leg, so I would favor him.
Oh, I think I remember that one.
I figured he had some challenges already.
Oh my goodness. So Jorge, what about you? Who are the people that you remember working with or really liked working with?
It's not like I enjoy, like I did like working with Dom because I liked the Charlie Hurley dynamic. And some points we would talk about how that's like it might be the strongest relationship of the group on the island, the way they were so bonded together, which adds great tragedy to like the moment when Charlie dies. Spoiler alert, Charlie dies. He dies twice.
Just to like really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Terry was also fun. Terry was great because Terry is such a great actor too. And we had some good times together where there'd be times because sometimes like Terry and I, we weren't actors that popped up as often necessarily. And then when we suddenly would get to work, there was this thing that we both like, oh, we're so excited to act that would add an element of playfulness to it.
Right.
I think you and Terry, Emilie, you and Terry had some really great, the whole building the crib episode is just really, really great moments between you two.
Right. Now, did your bond between you and Emilie start with that first episode? Because that pilot episode, you guys had some really intense scenes like from the beginning. So do you feel like your bond started then, or was it afterward?
We spent a long time in the sun just sitting there, and her
it was so hot too,
acting in distress with a big fake pregnant belly on.
Oh yeah, that probably added to the heat, right? Wow.
I remember Jorge. I mean, this was the first time we realized how gross this pregnant belly was going to get in the pot. When we did that and when we all fall.
Yeah.
At some point you were like, oh, just remember this look on your face, and it sort of freaked me out for a minute. And you're like, something like, I don't remember exactly what you said, but like the thing was just filthy. It just had like ash and like black, I probably can't swear, black stuff all over it. And yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, and also because like
it was like a...
It was such a big, broad scene, that first scene. So there were a lot of times where we just had to be also in the background, just like being like, here's me, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I won't leave you. I won't leave you. We just kind of like trying to do stuff in the background. So that we always like felt the presence of us and like out of focus in the distance.
Yeah. So you're never really stopping your acting at that point. You're just going with the scene, which is really neat.
Well, if you show up
that wide of a shot,
I mean, there's cheat. As an actor, you start learning ways to cheat things. But yeah, like there was
knows what we were really saying.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's a time. This is gonna. I don't know how people are gonna feel finding out about things. This reminds me of a story. There's a story where someone had asked De Niro about some scene about like, what were you thinking during some scene? He's like, you don't want to know what I'm thinking because like it's going to disappoint you. Whatever you hear, it's going to be like, what if I'm thinking about the steak I'm going to eat that night or something like that. But I'm going to tell you the story anyways. The moment where we discover that Sun and Jin did not make it out of the submarine.
Yeah.
And we all are bawling in the sand. And then they decide they're going to move the camera real far away and shoot us more there. And by then, we're wet. It's night. We're cold and we're tired. And I started laughing. And basically, I just started like making everyone laugh, and we were laughing, being like, from far away, laughing looks like crying. Laughing looks like crying. And then we decided to do that while we were there.
Oh my gosh, that's great insight. And I'm going to have to go back and watch
an episode. Because the music does the work for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Michael Giacchino.
Yeah. We have a question from Nicole Severa. She wants to know what your favorite storyline or plot point was on Lost. It could be for your characters or any character.
Well, finding out that Locke was in a wheelchair the whole time before that first moment when you discovered, that was the first time where I kind of really went, oh, this show is different. This show definitely has a great Twilight Zone twist. Mm-hmm. And that's also where you started having to be like telling people to record the show that came on after Lost, or to set your DVR so that it records an extra 5 minutes. Because also we started like doing these extra long episodes. So we would give credit to the next hour a little bit for a little bit of a Lost lead in. And DVRs that cut off would be like, that was kind of a weird ending. And it says, oh no, but then you discover that those numbers are on that hatch. And they're like, what? Where? And I was like, you got to record the next show after it, or you're going to miss key details, because they'll give you a piece of information at the very end of an episode.
Yeah, forgot about that. God, DVRs back in the day. I agree with you. That moment is super pivotal on just a perception of where the show was going and what they were doing. I mean, there's not many storylines that I really didn't enjoy. I think there were a few, like Nikki and Paolo, who were just kind of floating in and out. But, on a whole, like as far as us main ones, I mean, Terry's story, I just loved Terry, and I loved his story and everything he did with it. I really love your story too, and Claire's stuff too.
Just like there's like moments, like the moment, I've talked about this other times, but the moment where it's Locke trying to convince Jack to do the numbers on the computer, and Jack's refusing to, and the numbers are clicking and clicking and clicking. And the whole part where he's like, why do you find it so hard? And he's like, why do you find it so easy? It's never been easy. That scene, I had like one line of that scene. So most of that scene, I was a spectator, and just being in the room kind of gave me some chills there. I was like, well, this is good.
And I feel like the show has so many of those moments, like you alluded to Charlie dying earlier, which I think is one of the saddest things. But there are so many of those scenes throughout the show. How much of your character development were you tuned into? Meaning, like, did they actually tell you any of the background on your character? Were you kind of learning that as the audience did?
Kind of learning it along, for at least from me. There's certain stuff I did ask about because I thought it might help me. Especially because I think what was the first Claire like backstory was, what was it, raised by another? Was that what it was? I think it's been a long time, you guys. And I think I had a few questions surrounding that, but I found myself finding out most of it through the story, and weirdly enough, like through the scripts, but weirdly enough, not being terribly agitated by that. It kind of I fell into a rhythm of letting that work for me. I was never used to it. I don't know if anyone really was on this show, but previous jobs which I'd had, I guess I knew more about the character, especially if it's a film or something, because you have it all right there. But it's kind of nice, I guess, having a fresh something to work on for your character each week. Although there was also a lot of downtime, except for 3 or 4. I mean, I had a lot of downtime to sort of do some character development on the side too.
Yeah. What about you, Jorge? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I do. I liked the idea that we were in the dark in many ways. And I would just kind of make a choice to fill in the blanks that I had. And then I didn't care if later I got information that would have maybe been, maybe I would have, if I knew that, I would have done something contrary, because I think people make contradictions in their life choices all the time. So I think that just made us more human in a way. So yeah, I didn't mind not knowing things and letting just kind of things unravel as I went along.
Awesome.
That's a really good point, and not really on topic of the show, but Jorge, that's so true to life, really, isn't it? Because if I don't know, I could learn something massive about my past and my family today, which, in hindsight, then I would have maybe made different decisions yesterday or last week or last year or whatever. So it is. I wonder if that would have helped me to realize it that way when I was filming.
You know what? Also, later in the scripts, I remember Dom and I, we started discovering, we started having this decision where we in the scripts that we would get, we wouldn't read the backstory stuff. And so then when we would watch the show, there was always something new that we hadn't seen yet. And we figured, since it didn't really technically affect our current relationship with that person on Island, that we could let those kind of reveal themselves when the episode aired. And that kind of added an extra little element of surprise for the show for us. Because we were fans of the show. We enjoyed watching it as well. I mean, we were pretty proud of it.
Oh, yeah. I was so excited. We get our little DVD every week.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a show that's still talked about today. I mean, when you look at lists of the best shows of all time, Lost usually comes up, which is a great credit to you guys as actors, but also, the ensemble of the show. So that's got to feel really special on top of everything else.
It's cool. I'm surprised, when I meet people who have just started the show, people who are introducing the show to their kids. And I ran into Damon at the airport, and his son, who is now a teenager, was just going through binging the show then. He was I forgot, he was already into maybe season 5 or something like that. So he calls his son over, and you see his son kind of see me, recognize who I am, and he even had kind of a little bit of a fan moment that he was, oh, look at that kind of thing, which is so interesting because his dad wrote the show, but it was cool. And the fact that people are still discovering it. And it's funny because it feels weird to me because it feels like so long ago, but there's old shows that I'm discovering too. So everyone's doing that basically.
Right.
Yeah. It's also somewhat timeless in a sense. I mean, not completely, but it's not, it's not a show about technology. It's not a show about what's happening there's nothing political, directly. I mean, so I think it gives that sort of timeless feel to it. And it's such its own world.
Yeah. They were definitely trying not to put a date or a time frame into the show. They definitely wanted to avoid things. But even then, it ended up being, you still had to deal with things. I remember when we were doing the last season, and we had the flash sideways, they had us getting on the plane again. And so they were looking for cell phones from 5 years ago. So we were holding a cell phone of that period. So, you can't avoid it. Every show is going to, have a reflection of the period that it was shot for sure anyways.
Right. Well, we have a question from Essa Floor. They want to know if you are happy with the ending of the show and if there's anything that you would change about it.
Yeah, simple question.
I'm feeling like Essa might not be happy with the end of the show.
I was about to say the same
That's
thing.
my suspicion. I mean, I have no complaints. Hurley gets the island. What?
Yeah, I like that everyone has a different opinion. I mean, on everything, but there's a lot of opinions around the end of, or how they ended the series. But I always go back to, I like asking people, you know, why, what would you have done differently if you were writing it, blah, blah, blah. But forgetting that part of it, I like to just think, well, look, you have the answers you need. There's a lot of answers you don't have, which I think is a good thing. I don't think this was the kind of show that would be the same if the writers and everyone just handed you your last episode. Here, it's all tied up. Here's everything you needed to know. You just watched all of this for 6 years, but here's just, you know, now you don't have any more questions. It's all done, you know, because a huge part of what people enjoyed about the show or are enjoying now watching it is the theorizing and the talking, the in-between, the water cooler conversation, the, you know, everything about that side of it. So I think it would have lost a lot of that if it was more specifically answered in detail, and the stuff that was answered, like where we were, all that sort of stuff. I don't have any problems with it. I fall very neutral on it, and I like it, and I think it was really beautiful.
Plus, I think there are more answers than those people give us credit for, because they'll be like, oh, well, what is explain the polar bear? And I was like, well, you need a polar bear because you got to turn the wheel where it's cold. You know, it's like I was like, there were answers there that not everyone caught. There's also stuff that just got, because there was this was kind of also the start of these like during like the summer, during the off months, and they'd have these like weird like online video scavenger hunts that would put together like secret, like kind of basically it'd be like bonus footage kind of things, just kind of like little bits of information and little things that you know, I remember there's just more stuff out there than, so like the people who were really hungry for the show and really sought out everything, I think they had a more satisfying experience maybe than the people who kind of came in week to week.
I agree with that.
Well, don't forget, if you're watching on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, that you can still buy those additional experiences like one-on-one private video chats, the custom messages, and the autographs. You can do all of that at wizardworldvirtual.com. I just want to go ahead and remind people of that while we're slowly getting towards the end. We still have a little bit of time. We have a question from Angela McGinley. She wants to know what the hardest scene for you to film was, and if there was a prankster on set, who was that?
Well, hardest to film for me might have been the okay, there's physically hard to shoot was walking across that bridge. There's that rope bridge, and it had a rope, like it had a handle rope only on one side, and so the further out you went, the bridge started bending towards the open side. You could feel it going like this, and so you walked across it. I was roped in. I just had to get across, and it was fine. And I didn't realize how subconsciously my body was saying.
What's happened to the?
You might be cutting out a little bit.
And it's because my toes were almost trying to see if they could grab onto the bridge through my shoes.
Oh my God.
That was hard physically. Hard emotionally was the scene at the end where Jack gives me that dirty water to drink, and I had to be all emotional about that he was gonna die and he was gonna, you know, pass it on to me, and the whole no way and that stuff. Because part of that was Damon and Carlton came to visit set that day, and it's hard to do your job when your boss is there watching you, and so I had to like go off and hide myself somewhere so I can just kind of get in the right, mindset to do it.
How about you, Emilie?
I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but the hardest stuff probably is the birth stuff for me, just because I really, I hadn't had children, and it's such a personal experience and a unknown, and especially because the first one was on a rock. Like, it wasn't, I'm going to Google some videos of birthing on a rock. Like, won't tell you what I found. But, those are just, I think anything like that where you're, especially if it's something that you have not physically gone through, I did not want to come across as a fraud or, I'm an actor, so I guess that's what you know what I mean?
But making it authentic, yeah.
What do you think, like,
Yeah.
do you think you would have done it differently?
Well, I didn't try a rock with my two. If I have another one, get a rock put in. I had a home birth, but I guess I could put the rock in the bedroom. I don't know. I think probably. I don't know what it would have been, but I probably would have been in a different headspace just having gone through it, Whether that would have made it like better or worse, I don't know. I think it would have just been different. I think it worked. And what was the other question? Oh, well, and then physically, that wasn't really a physical thing. That was more of a just everything, logistical and emotional. And
yeah. The other question was, who was the biggest prankster on set? Totally opposite of the challenge.
Everyone had their moments.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
The only ones I can think about right now are really inappropriate.
There was a period of time where Foxy and I were, because we would take the spray bottle that was used to spray sweat on us and just like
we had so many
squirt wet crotches on each other before seeing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we had so many spray bottles and sunscreen and bug spray. That was our makeup kit. And a little bit of fake blood for some scratches.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and the fake sweat. Remember the fake sweat stuff that stays looking like you're sweating?
Oh, yeah. But then eventually it just kind of just like, we're just going to spray you in between.
Eventually we all, I think, complain so much and we're breaking out so much. We're just like, no, we'll just keep the bottle right here and just keep spraying the water.
Yeah.
Instead of this like goopy glycerin. Ugh.
Yeah, like I would start getting the spray bottle, but by then I was able to make my own naturally in any given work day.
I went method pretty quick.
Well,
who was the biggest prankster?
That was part of like living in Hawaii. You got used to like, I'm just going to have pits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just live in Hawaii. Everyone's sweating.
Yeah.
Everybody's sweating. Well, we have a question from Victoria XRG. She wants to know, what souvenirs have you kept from set?
Oh my God. Oh. I have a couple.
I managed to swipe the two paintings that Hurley paints when he's in the mental institution. There's the igloo with the Inuit and the it's like the Sphinx, I think, with like little guys on camels, and both of those I was able to finagle out of the prop storage.
Do you have them hanging like in your house, or what did you?
Yeah, they're actually in the guest room.
That's amazing. How about you, Emilie?
Yeah, I really wanted Squirrel Baby. That was a high-end ask, though, I think.
That's a big ask.
Squirrel Baby has gone on for bigger, better things.
Did someone buy Squirrel Baby? I wonder how much that.
Well, didn't Damon had it, and then I think they auctioned it.
Wow, that's a big one. That's also because it's a very iconic piece.
That thing was very creepy. It really was.
Is there any? Yeah, like the thing that I would be interesting to have is maybe like the Ankh that was in the guitar case, maybe.
There's so many things. I mean, look, I have things that are not props. Like I have all of our like cast hats, like season 4 and stuff like that, which I love. And I think I've probably got like the chair back because the director's chairs that fold down, the little back piece we usually get to keep because.
Yeah, sentimental items. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And like I have a couple of tank tops from like the black tank tops and the one that was over the pregnancy thing that I guess I just right out stole those.
Like actual wardrobe?
Yeah.
I got like they had a bunch of shoes that were aged that like this is like near the end, like we have a bunch of shoes in your size, and they just gave me like a bag of
Aged.
I'm pretty good for sneakers for quite some time.
Are they all aged down to look dirty though?
They're all sneakers, but they've kind of had that kind of shoe polish wash to make them look old and worn.
Maybe not what you thought you would take away from the
But they also there's no like insert inside the shoe because they had inserts that they would put in the shoes I was currently wearing, and they pulled the other ones out because after a while I wanted a little more cushion inside the shoe, so they would like double them up and stuff like that. So a lot of them don't have inserts, so I had to like get my own Dr. Scholl's to put in there so that I get at least
it's a whole situation with these shoes.
Right.
Quite a lot of work you've gone through.
All right. Well,
let me tell you, there's times where you have to walk on sand in sneakers with purpose, and that is way harder than it seems.
Oh yeah, dude, the sand. And we would be on soft sand 90% if you were walking.
Yeah.
You had to do a lot more of it. I'd be like,
march.
What's up, baby? I got to stay under
hard with it.
Well, we have time for one more question, and it's a heavy one. It's what advice do you give to somebody who wants to get into acting?
This is always, I've been asked this before, and I'm sure you have, Jorge, many times. It's always, I don't know, it's a very hard question because I think it's so different for everyone and how people got into acting. I mean,
it's way different even now from when we started.
Yeah.
Like the actor's life now, like the people who are still like deep in the hustle of it. There's all like the casting websites that people have to be members of now. And I mean, when I first got lost, headshots were still in black and white. It was like right as that was transitioning. It was like black and whites was for like dramas, and like commercials had color headshots, and then eventually now everyone's got color headshots, and now everyone submits electronically. It's way different than it was. The main thing I would say for me is like you got to really want it. It's something you kind of have to choose that this is what I want to do every day, because there's a lot you got to deal with and put up with to keep going, I think.
Yeah, like the shiny, bright, awesome parts are just maybe what you see or see us talking about or see us performing in. But there's a lot of downtime mostly for people. It's not like, I mean, it's different for everyone. There's people who, 10 years until they get their first job, and then they work every day for the rest of their lives, or get the first job they go out for and then have 5 years of working and then they don't work for 5 years. I mean, there's so many different stories. There's, people who did acting classes for years, people who didn't at all, people who did a mixed match. I mean, that's what I mean of being personal to you. And I think just following your gut, if it's something you're really interested in and want to make it, like Jorge said, a part of your life every day, then pursue it in your own way, whatever you think that means, whether it's like reading scenes with friends and filming them and getting other people to watch them and get an honest opinion, or if you're like, I really need a class because I love being in a class setting, take some classes online, I guess now is the way to do it for classes, or, take meetings if you already have an in to go and meet some people. And I think I don't think there's one solid way of here's the acting school you should go to, here's the address of the first casting director to meet, and off you go. It's kind of a weird world in that sense that people from all different backgrounds can have the same level of whatever you want to call it, work, employment, success.
I think I do like the idea of class because it also creates a community where you have other people who are striving for the same thing, and having a support system like that is very valuable, especially like coming up in LA where so many people come from the outside and there's not a strong like support base when you get here, and you kind of have to kind of essentially build your own amongst your friends, and that kind of that helps keep the energy going to keep going. And also, I think the business has changed so much now that we're starting to find perhaps that fewer and fewer actors can completely support themselves just acting. There's so many more outlets and so many more places where basically pay has gone down for performers that a lot more, I think, actors are going to be actors / other things, and that might just be part of life in the future.
I agree. And also moving to LA, when you said that, I was like, because I moved when I was 18, hundreds of years ago. And do you even need to live here anymore? Like if I was doing that move, if I was 18 now, I don't know that I would have moved because everything's so virtual. I mean, not right now is this situation right now. I'm not
more virtual now.
Moving forward.
Well, hey,
good point.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say we have fans listening in from the UK, Poland, Argentina, Germany, Brazil, France. We have people from Jersey, Louisiana, Florida, California, the Philippines, the Netherlands. They're from all over the world. So they're all tuning in right now. And we have time for final words. So I wanted to give you the opportunity if there's anything else you wanted to say.
I have a movie coming out on Netflix.
That's awesome, Jorge.
Netflix is so weird. So I have this one scene in The Wrong Missy, and I had in June a movie I did a while ago in Canada that was called The Healer, just showed up on Netflix, and under the radar, it suddenly became this thing where suddenly I'm like looking at this. I have 2 movies in Netflix's top 10 list. And now I have this other movie that's coming out. I shot it in Chile. It's all in Spanish. So if you like reading, there's some subtitles to read. And I'm pretty proud of it. And it was fun getting to go to Chile to do it. My father was from Chile. And so going there, I reconnected with the family down there. And so, yeah, that comes out Wednesday. So.
All right. Well, and we have fans watching in Spain, and everyone there says yes, they're very excited. I just want to share that with you too.
Fantastic.
How about you, Emilie?
For me, project-wise, I have stuff that I'm waiting to film. So fingers crossed that can happen.
Yeah, that is another thing that's kind of curious.
Yeah,
as to like things that were on our calendar, and it's like, okay, I don't know now. And who knows when?
Who knows?
And like, there's things like for me, they wanted me to grow my hair out a little bit longer, but I was going, yeah, but if this is going to be a long time, it's going to get unruly. Like just kind of gauging that kind of stuff. It's weird right now.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
It's not also just like, oh, let's give it a shot and open up production, anyway. Whole other conversation.
It's so important that we're around people to do our job, And so, yeah, as to how that's going to work out, we'll find out, I guess. Just wait and see.
Thank you so much, Emilie and Jorge, for joining us. And that's going to wrap our Wizard World virtual experience of Lost. So I guess you are off to your private chats.
I just wanted to say one thing quickly, though, actually, that I forgot to say is just, firstly, happy Pride Month to everyone who's watching. I don't know, it's sounding like an announcement. It's not. It's really just like stay safe, take care of yourself. Everyone's facing like weird challenges, whether it be, work stuff, money stuff, mental health, physical health. It's all really hard right now. So just, taking care of families, taking care of older people. There's just the list never ends of how everything's changed. So just, I don't know, if it's one thing that I've learned through all this is to really take care of myself, number one, because if I don't do that, I can't take care of my kids. I can't give advice to anyone. I can't take the time to do things that might help others. So, don't forget about yourself in all this and if you can help, there's a lot of animal shelters out there that need your help. There's a lot of awesome Black Lives Matter movements who are really, really, hungry for donations, and just let's try and be together and make a really cool change this time and make all of this super, super worthwhile so we can look back and tell a story with a happy ending, for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, if we could have one more round of applause, and thank you for Jorge and Emilie for joining us today. And in addition to this free panel, don't forget you still have time to purchase those additional exclusive experiences like the one-on-one video chats, custom messages, and autographs. Those are available until the top of the hour. You can go to wizardworldvirtual.com.
Hey, this is Alex Malari Jr., and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Your Emperor commands it. Thanks for watching.